is to measure countries' progress in achieving inclusive, sustainable, and industrial development. So, in order to achieve this development, in order to monitor and measure the progress at the global level, UNSP has constructed this index. The major focus, as I said, is related to the industry-specific targets under Goal 9. We have 7 indicators. Out of 7 indicators, 4 targets specific indicators have been identified for the construction of index, and these indicators are inclusive of all social dimension, environmental dimension, and economic dimension. So in economic aspect, in the economic dimension, majorly the index consists of manufacturing. 9.2.1a is manufacturing value added as a proportion of GDP. It's a component of industry index. And 2.1b, manufacturing value added as a proportion of per capita. So these are another indicator which are part of economic. And the third one is 9.b.1, the percentage of medium and high-tech manufacturing value added in total value added of the manufacturing sector or the industrial sector. And the social component is the employment perspective, where the manufacturing employment as a proportion or the percentage of the total employment. And the environmental aspect is CO2 emissions per unit of value added. For each unit of value added by the manufacturing, what is the CO2 emission? So these 3 dimension-specific indicators are included in the construction of industry index, which is used to measure the performance and the progress of the countries. And this target, in addition to this, we have additional indicators, particularly 9.5, which focus on the scientific aspects of research and upgrading industries. So these indicators are not included in the construction of the index. For example, 9.5.1, which is R&D expenditure, 9.5.2, which is researchers availability. These are not included in the construction of the index because these are the industry is designed to be an industry specific. So for that reason, they have excluded this. And the methodology before construction of the index, the indicators has to be normalized for the comparison purposes. So for that reason, using the minimax method, minimum and the maximum method, the indicators are the first normalized by keeping the range between 0 and 1. And after that, the variables are standardized before data aggregation. Maybe because of some units will be in terms of different indicators will be in different measurement units. For example, a value added will be in terms of a different measurement unit. Then the per capita will be in the different measurement unit. The CO2 emission will be in terms of different measurement units. And the employment will be in terms of different measurement units. So for that reasons, the variables needs to be standardized, and it is normalized by using the minimax method, where the value ranges between 0, 1, and 1. However, if we compare the global index methodology to the India index methodology, there would be a significant difference with the methodology employed by the UNSCAP and the Niti Aayog MOSPI. So here, before going to the index, we look into the what the value matters. Suppose the value addition for the manufacturing value added is a proportion of GDP. We want a higher value of the indicators. For the manufacturing value added as a proportion to GDP, then the per capita, employment, and employment perspective. So we want it to be the index requires it to be a positive, considered to be positive, because the country with the highest value will be assigned the highest score. Since the value lies between 0 and 1, So highest score is between close to 1, and the country with the lowest value is assigned to the lowest score, that is 0. However, for this is reverse for the other indicator, that is the environment indicator, which is the CO2 emissions. So where the reverse is required, that means the meaning of the indicator and use an inverse normalization of this indicator, because the country with highest level of CO2 emission is assigned 0 value, and the country with the lowest CO2 emission intensity is assigned the value of 1, which is exact opposite to the other indicators, where the best performing, the highest value is assigned 1, and the lowest performing countries having the value of 0. And this minimax method is used in order to normalize the indicators. And so when we normalize these indicators, we will find the presence of extreme values. The extreme values are the outliers. So the outliers has to be removed with a standard deviation of like the mean standard deviation of 2. So by using this, the SDG index is constructed where by using the formula. So where there will be two formulas. The equation 1 is valid for indicators which have higher values representing a better performance. So higher values representing a better performance, where the manufacturing value added, per capita, employment, and the high techno, medium and high technology industry. So that for that the equation is 1, where indicator IT is nothing but the I indicator of the Cth country and the T time, and XT signifies the value of that indicator. Okay, so the that is indicator minus minimum value and the maximum minus and the minimum value. So this, the equation 1 is used for the indicators where the higher values represents better performance. At the same time, we have on the right hand side, we have the other equation 2, where the it is this equation is valid for indicators where the lower values represents better performance. Suppose like a CO2 emission, so we need a lower value of CO2 emissions, so that reflects a better performance of a country. So higher marginal value, higher value added by a manufacturing, so that requires a higher value where it reflects the better performance. So higher employment generated by the manufacturing sector. So that is a higher value where it is required. So that is measured in the equation 1, and the second one, the environmental aspect, where it is measured in equation 2. So after all these 5 indicators are normalized, and data is constructed by using a geometric mean, where the assigns where for all 5 indicators equal weights have been assigned. So this is one important thing, where the weights are across all 5 indicators, the weights are equal. So using this, the SDG 9 for a particular country at the particular time, the indicator is constructed. That is the index value is constructed. And why the purpose of giving equal weightage for all the indicators is that the index wants to be more transparent, highly transparent, and a sound designed index. So that is, there is a manual by OECD 2008, how to construct an index. So they have given the manual for the construction of the index. So in that manual, they clearly mentions that equal weightage is one of the important priority, where the index is transparent across all the index. So we have given equal weightage in the construction of the index. And the another important justification why the UNESCAP provides for assigning equal weights is that they will find the correlation between the normalized indicators. So, and they found out that there is a positive correlation between the normalized indicators. When they have a positive correlation between the normalized indicators, they have a smaller impact on the selection of weights. Though that means the weights are not required when there is a positive correlation between the normalized indicators. So that is one of the important logic given by faster for the purpose of using equal weights in the construction of SDG index. And this, as I said, this SDG Goal 9 index which provide valuable information across industrialization. So once we have the index value, so it gives how the countries are industrializing, to what extent they are different from different countries. And this, for that purpose, it gives two important indexes. The one is current status index. The another one is achievement likelihood indicator. These are the two important part of the two important index part, which are part of the global SDG 9 index, so which tracks the current performance and the of the countries in terms of the progress. The another one is achievement likelihood indicator. So this gives the likelihood of achieving the targets by 2030. To what extent each country with this specific indicator, what is the likelihood of achieving the targets by the 2030? So that that value that is assessed by another indicator called achievement likelihood indicator. So these two indicators are developed by UNESCAP, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific, and this progress in SDGs, it depends on country specific circumstances. As I already mentioned, it depends upon the stage of the countries in its industrialization, because some countries have limited industrial output or limited industrial production, but some countries have high industrial production, high manufacturing sector, higher growth rate of manufacturing sector, but those growth is concentrated in emission intensive industries, where it goes the reverse direction of the SDG goal. So for that reason, the progress should depend on the country specific characteristics. It takes into the regional characteristics of the country into perspective while the construction of the index. So for that reason, the best way to capture the country specific progress in individual indicators is to based on the relative targets. Each country specific targets and the relative targets at different points in different indicators. So for that reason, so in order to take the relative progress in indicators, each country, so where it lies, so that is the geographical regions. So in that geographical region, so the top three fastest growing economies average annual growth rate is considered. So in we will find different geographical region, such as sub-Saharan African region, North African and Western African region. So these are the geographical regions where it is defined by the UNESCAP, and each country indicator is measured to the performance of that region's best three countries, best three fast growing economies. So suppose India lies in the southern Asia, South Asia part. So Central and South Asia, in that region, the fastest three growing economies, the best performing three economies. So that country's average is taken. So India is compared to that annual growth rate. So in that perspective, so the index is related to the relative progress of the countries as well as for the geographical regions, and they have not taken into aspect of developed regions and the developing regions, but the index is a relative one, so where the geographical region is considered. Suppose if some geographical regions may not have the positive growth rate, so index can be calculated only when they have the average annual growth rate should be positive. Suppose in case where the average annual growth rate of the countries are negative, suppose like Australia and New Zealand, so where their average annual growth rate is negative. So in that case, we cannot compare with the best country. Systems are negative, so in that case, we cannot compare. So for that, in that formula, instead of using that annual, the relative aspect, so then the value will be the 0. So that we'll notice that in the formula. In the current status index method, so where the countries are compared within the region, same geographical region, the target is the average growth rate of top 3 economies, and the achievement, the country itself, and for the target is for, especially for less developed countries, the target is the doubling of base value. So the base value is in the SDG indicators, goal 9, the industry specific indicators. The objective is to double the manufacturing sector contribution. So that is only in the less developed countries. And when we construct these indicators, so we'll be having outliers. So there will be considerable variation across the countries when we normalize the indicators. For example, when we take the annual growth rate of value addition, so that will be fairly concentrated around the median values. But if we take the CO2 emissions of the country, so that is dispersed, so it is spread across. So in that case, there will be the problem of outliers. So it has to be normalized. So the normalized is taken by the by using Z scores, where the two standard deviations above the mean value and the below the mean value, they are considered as outliers. The above the mean value, they are positive outliers, and the below they are considered as a negative outliers. So after this normalizing, removing the outliers, the index is constructed. The current the progress is measured by using the current status index, which measures countries' SDG indicators between 2000 and 2019. This is an example. It allows for this current status index. It allows for the comparison between indicators, between countries, and between reference groups. And the CSI is the current status index is height indicator in 2019 to the 2000, and the TV is what the which is equal to 1 plus G of BG. So that means G is the average annual growth rate, BG are the benchmark countries. So the target value measures the progress of a country which could achieve by each indicator by 2030 if it grows at the rate of 3 countries in the benchmark at any geographical region. So where and D measures like 1 and -1. Suppose for increase is required, whether it may be manufacturing value addition per capita, employment, and technology perspective. Medium and high technology contribution. So where there is increase is desirable, there 1 is captured. Where the decrease is desirable, that is CO2 emission is decrease is desirable. So there -1 is captured. So the D becomes 1 if it is increased desirable. If it becomes -1 if it is if the desirable indicator is you want to be a decreasing one. And GB, as I said, in the target value, so where it signifies the average annual growth rate of benchmark country. So benchmark group is nothing but the top 3 countries, where the best performing countries after controlling for outliers. So using this formula, we can construct the index. And in some countries, so as I said, like where I given the example of New Zealand and Australia and the New Zealand group. So all where it is less than 0, that means if they exhibit negative growth rate, because we desire a positive growth rate. So but the benchmark group itself is having a negative growth rate. So in that case, it will be in this equation. So 1 plus G, so this will become negative if it's having a negative experience, a negative growth rate, the benchmark countries. So but our desired growth rate is positive. So setting targets with this, so in that case, in order to avoid this such a cases, such a scenarios, so we will be maintaining an existing level of growth rate, and we treat that existing growth rate is treated as 0. That means GB is equal to 0 if the average annual growth rate of the top best performing countries in a particular geographical region is turns negative. So then this GB will be 0. So that is for the TV, which measures the relating to the target value. So the target is the 3 best performing countries, and what is the current the value of the indicator at the current period, the country specific values. And less developed countries, and we know that SDG target 9.2, it aims for the doubling the industry share in employment in GDP, especially in the less developed countries. So for that reason, so particularly for the less developed countries, so since the aim is to double, so it is like instead of uh, here less developed countries, the target value be into, since the objective is to doubling the share in the employment, so what that is only for 9.2, it will be like 2 into the indicator in a particular country. For each indicator there will be a bandwidth where the target value is considered, where there will be a minimum value and the maximum global values, and with like an outliers are eliminated using a Z score of 3 mean values. So below the mean value 3, upper and the lower Z scores are considered as an outliers while constructing the current status index. And this current status index value lies between -1 to +1, where positive value implies progress towards the target. That if the indicator value, country specific indicator value is close to 1, it reflects that the country is progressing in towards achieving the target. So this reflects if its value lies between -1 to 0, it is negative. That means the country's performance has deteriorated and it's stagnated since 2000. 2000 is taken as a benchmark year because that is where the Millennium Development Goals have been initiated, and the symbol is negative. And 0 to if the indicator SDG industry specific goal value is between 0 to 0.2, then it is insignificant, where the country has made only insignificant progress since 2000. And if the value is 0 to 0.56, it's a fairly performing fair performance, and 0.56 between one values, the indicator take values, so we can say that yes, there is a substantial progress across all the countries. The country's performance in terms of SDG goal 9, industry specific goal 9, is substantial. The another indicator, two indicators, the one is current status index, the another one is achievement likelihood indicator. So this is another indicator where it tells what would be the likelihood of this indicator, so in achieving the target by 2030, what is that likelihood? So it calculates that probability. So indicator complements by estimating countries likelihood meeting their respective indicator targets given the current trend, given all the previous time series trend, what could be the probability of achieving the target by 2030. So given the current scenario, so in order to estimate that, there is a formula again, achievement likelihood in any year, which is equal to 1 minus target value minus indicator in 2030 and target value in indicator value in 2019. So we already know what is a TV. TV can be estimated by using the best 3 performing countries, the benchmark countries, average annual growth rate That is used in order to measure the TB value. So using that TB value, so we can estimate the likelihood, achievement likelihood indicator. So the probability of the achieving the target by 2030. And in order to calculate this one, so we'll be having the value of 2019, but we won't be having the value for 2030. So in order to calculate the 2030 value, so we'll be using the index uses ARIMA model, auto-regressive integrated moving average model, in order to calculate the value for 2030. So that uses the values from 1930 till now. So in order to find the value for 2030, and we know that ARIMA model is like an auto-regressive integrated moving average model, where it is an time series econometric model, where it uses the previous time series data, trends, and seasonality in order to using the trends and seasonality. So it gives a value. So using past values, it gives some value for 2030. So using that value, the achievement likelihood value can be estimated. So here, using this value, since we already will be having the TB value, so only the thing is we have to calculate this. So this is calculated. So once is the 2030 value is calculated by using the previous all the years of data from 1990 to the current period by using the ARIMA model. So then we'll be having the likelihood indicator, and this likelihood indicator value lies between 0 to 1. But this one, the current status index value lies between -1 to 0. So, but here the achievement likelihood indicator lies between 0 to 1. So higher value of achievement likelihood indicator, it says that by 2030, the progress is the given indicator for a given country, it is achieving the progress, and that is likelihood of achieving the given target. And lower value of AL indicates a stronger need for action, where the policy action is required if the SDG is to be met. So these extremities are reflected in the values 0 and 1. And these both the indices, the current status index as well as the achievement likelihood index. So both the index, it provides an insights of what data shows, what data tells about the industry specific information, and how it is inclusive, and how it is going to achieve the target. So that insights is provided by these indices. And achievement likelihood index, as I said, it lies between 0 to 1. 0 is a reversing trend. If the achievement likelihood value of a particular indicator is 0, it's a reverse trend. That means in order to reach the target in 2030, the country has to reverse its negative trend. That means it's going in an opposite direction. So 0 to 0.8 is an accelerate progress. To reach the target in 2030, the country will need to accelerate this progress. And 0 to 8 to 1, it's on track. If the economy continues to progress at the current speed, it will likely to achieve the target, the set target by 2030. So this index of value 0 to 1, it reflects about each country's performance, how it is, the industry, in what direction it is moving towards the set goals is explained by these. The value explains that direction. And if you look into the index, the index values and it's a ranking. And the China, that is the Taiwan province, China, it's having the rank 1, which values from like 2000 to 2020, the 20 years change, there is a positive 11 units change. So using that, so especially the goal 9 industry perspective, China ranks first, the Korea ranks second, Ireland, Germany, and Switzerland. So these 5 are the top 5 performing countries which are measured using that index. Coming to India, it's in the 78th rank. And this is not the composite of all 17 index. So it is specifically only to industry specific indicator. Industry specific indicator, the performance of India is at rank 78. But when we take into the all inclusive, all 17 goals, the performance of India is way better compared to the industry specific indicator. And this index, since I already mentioned, this index is related, the value and the rank is only related to the industry performance. The India ranks at 78 based on its performance in industry, particularly the gross value added manufacturing and employment perspective. And suppose if I want to juxtapose where India is with China, Asia, and middle income industrializing countries. So these are the indicators where we have taken in order to measure the industry performance. Manufacturing value added as a percentage of GDP. As we all know that the manufacturing value added as a percentage of GDP India is very low. If you look into any literature, India is prematurely deindustrializing. That means the share of the manufacturing sector in the GDP is declining, because that is opposite in majority of the countries. The majority of the countries, they have attained a peak, they have industrialized. After industrialization, then the service sector has taken the prominence and the manufacturing sector started declining. But in India, the manufacturing value added is prematurely declining before attaining industrialization. The China manufacturing value added is 28% to the GDP. Asia, it is 29.9%. So the India rank, the stage is India contributes only, the Indian manufacturing contributes only around 15 to 16% to the GDP. That is in 2020. Now, if we compare to if we take the India MOSPI data, so the contribution has increased to 17% by 23-24. The contribution has increased to around 17%. And the manufacturing value added per capita, that is overall manufacturing value added divided by population. And so if you look into the graph, the value is like just $283. So if you look into the China, so it's like $2,872, and India is $283. Asia is $1,564. So these are all the components of the index itself. So if you look into the index construction methodologies or the indicators, so we have manufacturing value added, then we have manufacturing value added per capita, then manufacturing employment as a proportion of total employment. So these are the indicators. For that reason, we have taken the indicator specific graph itself. And if you look into the manufacturing employment contribution, and if you see the employment, the manufacturing contribution only the 11% to the employment, whereas China, it contributes 18.9, around 19% of the data, 19% to the employment. So if you see where we required, there is the India's achievement likelihood of 2030, likelihood of targets by 2030. So in order to achieve that target, so we have to accelerate our progress. But in terms of per capita, we are on track. But in order to value addition, manufacturing value added as a percentage of GDP, we have to accelerate the progress. Why? In the sense, because the objective or the goal of the indicator is to double the manufacturing contribution in the GDP. That means in order to double, we need to require more progress, as well as the employment share we want to double means, so we have to again require more progress. These are the index specific data. And manufacturing total value added. So I want of time. Since it's repetitive, I will skip this. and manufacturing goods in total merchandise exports and global market share of exports. So suppose if you look at the global level, India's industry specific, all manufacturing. So this is only industry specific. Manufacturing exports is only 2.1% to the world share, but whereas China contributes 18%. And where the destination of intermediate exports, where it is India is exporting the intermediate exports, that is again concentrate only to the manufacturing. So India is exporting intermediate products to 17%, almost 18% to United States. So that's where now, because of tariffs, higher tariffs, where the intermediate exports, where the MSMEs are concentrated, and that is where it is going to impact more, that the recently imposed tariffs. And China, it's India intermediate exports is where the Chinese market share is 6.6%, and the rest of the world, India's intermediate exports is 63.6%. And if you look into so this is a comparison of India and China. So if you look into the China, so where the the Chinese exports to US is intermediate exports is 9.9%. Um, and intermediate imports, so I will skip intermediate imports as well. And this one is more important one. So manufactured export by technology intensity. So what type of, again, this is a component of industry specific indicator. So what components, technology or specific exports we are doing. So if you look, 37.3% of percentage we are exporting high technology products. Around 30% we are exporting mid technology products, and 32.8% we are exporting low technology products. If you compare to the China is almost exporting 64%, they are exporting high technology products, and only 15% is they are exporting like medium technology products. If you look into Indian counterpart, it's like 50% more. So double India is exporting the medium tech products, and low technology products they are exporting 21.4%. So that means the majority of the Chinese exports is majorly on the they are using high technology oriented, high technology based, or the technology intensive oriented products. But however is more concentrated in like low and medium technology exports. Um, and CO2 emission, and this is again one of the indicator which is in the index, global index. So if you look into the CO2 emissions, so India's performance is better, relatively better, that to post to 2015 the CO2 emissions is declining. The China, you can find a drastic decline in the CO2 emissions, keeping the environmental aspect. So the progress is fair. The Indian progress as well as the Chinese progress is fair, but it somehow it requires an additional progress relating to CO2 emissions. But in addition to that, if you look into the technology perspective, where high, medium, and high tech manufacturing value added is 44% in India, and China is having like 41.01, 42%, 41%. So that is insignificant, and it's a reversing trend. So where again the progress is required in this perspective, where uh, we should be more concentrating on high technology oriented exports rather than medium and low technology exports. And if you look into the Indian perspective of metadata, so where India specific, so that is the global indicator, and this one is the India specific indicator, where India specific index is constructed by Niti Aayog and MOSPI. Here, the indicator for goal 9 is gross capital formation by industry use, and uh, the data source is Ministry for Statistics and Program Implementation. And the gross capital formation is like gross capital formation is equal to gross fixed capital formation plus change in stocks and inventories plus valuables. So as we all know that in the national income accounting, there is a production approach and expenditure approach. So using these two approaches, the gross capital formation is computed industry wise, excluding the valuables for any reference period. Suppose if you look into this graph, gross capital formation in current prices and constant prices. Current prices and the constant prices in the primary axis, and growth rate of gross capital formation in current prices, and the growth rate of gross capital formation in constant prices on the secondary axis. In the primary axis, you can see during the period of COVID time, the gross capital formation is nothing but the total investment. Investment by the manufacturing sector declined from like 16.49% to negative return, negative during COVID period. And only after that COVID period, it can regain, and it again, but it declined during the growth rate is declined, but somehow the if you see here, there is the current prices. It is moving at the blue line, and the maroon line is of the constant prices. There is a upward trend, and indicator 9.2, that is manufacturing value added as a proportion of a GDP. And this data source for this is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The indicator is defined as gross value added as a percentage of GDP at current prices divided by manufacturing value added per capita. Numerator is gross value added, and denominator is GDP, and the multiplier is 100. So we will get the MVA, manufacturing value added, as a proportion of GDP. And this is, if you see here, in the primary axis, we have manufacturing value added at constant prices. Now we are at like from 17%, we have declined to the manufacturing value added like 15.83, and the per capita the per capita manufacturing is around like almost like around close to $2,000. And third one is manufacturing employment as a proportion to total employment. These are the data. For this, the data is drawn from periodic labor force survey, PLFS, and this data is collected by NSSO. And using this PLFS, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation gives the data relating to the manufacturing employment as a proportion to total employment. And if you see here, 11.4% of the employment is total employment is in the manufacturing sector. Out of total employment, 11% of the employment is the share of the manufacturing employment is 11.4%. It is consistently declining from 12.3% to 11.4%. That's what the literature says, that as we industrialize, the share of employment should increase. But however, since we are prematurely deindustrializing, the share of employment and the share of value added is less compared to the Southeast Asian countries like Taiwan, Malaysia, Vietnam, and even of course to China, because they have industrialized and their share of value added as well as employment has also increased commensurately. But that is not the case, say, for India, since the employment contribution as well as the value addition component is declining. And uh, this is gross value added as a total value addition, so I will skip. Um, and this one is the percentage of credit flow given to MSMEs, small and medium enterprises. This is one of the part of the index, that is 9.3. The indicator is defined as outstanding credit given by micro, small, and given by banks to MSMEs. Total bank credit divided by total credit given by banks, and the multiplier is 100. That means out of almost 19% of the credit, 19% is given to micro and small and medium enterprises. And maybe if you see, that is increasing maybe because of several proactive policies by the government, by the central government, Digital India, Mudra scheme, and several other schemes, Make in India, several other schemes. The share, the credit flow to the MSMEs are increasing over the years, and that too there is a drastic jump after COVID. And emissions, the environmental aspect, the CO2 emissions per unit of GDP, and the data source is again the Ministry of Power, Central Electricity Authority, and it gives the data. And numerator is CO2 emission divided by GDP at current prices. So India is emitting somewhere around 40.52 tons of emissions. And coming to these are the data at the country level, at the India level, which is used for the construction of SDG India index. And this SDG India index and the SDG dashboard is an initiative of the Niti Aayog in partnership with UN India and UNDP India. And for the first time in 2018, Niti Aayog has constructed this SDG India index. In the first edition, which came out in 2018, the index used 69 indicators and for 13 SDG goals and 39 targets. And the second index came in 2019 and 2020, and it has used 100 indicators, 54 targets, and 17 goals. And the third edition of SDG India Index came in 2020, 2021. It had 115 indicators and 70 targets for all 17 goals. And the fourth edition of SDG India Index, it came in 23-24. It had 16 goals, 70 targets, and 113 indicators. And this methodology is developed by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and it is started from 2018. And if you look into the India index score, so 2018 it was 57, it jumped to 2019 it is 60, 2021 66, and 23-24 some India index score, SDG index score is 71. So this is different from the global index, because the global index methodology is different and India index methodology is different. And this 71 score comes from this this index, which is calculated by MOSPI. When it comes to the SDG India Index construction methodology, the indicators have been identified by MOSPI, Niti Aayog, and National Indicators Framework. And this National Indicator Framework is a part of Niti Aayog, which was set up in order to overview and identification of indicators for SDG. And now when the indicators have identified, for each indicator they should have a target, and that target is based on some target level. Some indicators targets are based on the global level, some indicators targets are based on the government of India values, and some indicators the targets are based on the international standards. For example, for out of like suppose in the 2019 we had 113 indicators. For 113 indicators, 80 indicators are have the target value at the UN global level, and the 24 indicators they have government of India set the targets, and for 5 indicators the target is drawn from the World Health Organization, and the another uh, uh, for some of the indicators where there is no specified target, so then the target is set by deriving the average of three best states, the three best performing states as a base year value. So like what we have find out in the achievement likelihood indicator, where the three best performing countries average annual growth rate is taken as an indicator, as a base year, in order to measure, in order to indicate the relative performance of the countries. So likewise, in the construction of methodology at the national level, at the India level, where there is no targets, defined targets are available at the global level, as at the national level, as well as the institutional level. So for only for those indicators, three top best performing states have been taken. Their average has been taken as an target. Like as I said, for this also the indicators are normalized by 0 to 100. Zero, if you look into the global indicator, the indicators are normalized by between 0 to 1. But here the indicators are normalized between 0 to 100 in order to ensure for comparability between different indicators, because different indicators have different values and different units. Suppose if I take a head count ratio, if I take an head count ratio, that will be in terms of percentages. If I take a maternal mortality rate, so that will be in terms of units. So the for the comparability for the purpose of comparability, so these indicators, when we have an heterogeneous indicators, so these heterogeneous indicators has to be normalized between some values. So that the global level, it is normalized between 0 to 1. At the India level, the normalized range is between 0 to 100. So where 0 indicates low performance, and the values which are close to 100, they are they are treated as like the target achieved, that the best performing indicators. And for the indicators which have higher values, which require better performance, the first formula is used. For example, the proportion of institutional deliveries. For this, higher value is required. The proportion of institution, that majority of the percentage of the population for female, so the delivery should be an institutional delivery. So for this, the higher value is required. So when we have a higher value, this is the formula x prime, which is equal to x minus minimum of x value and the target value, and the minus value, the multiplier is 100. Suppose when we have like the value which requires lower performance, so in that case, so this the second formula is used, x prime 1 minus x value divided by target value divided by maximum value, and the target value multiplied by 100. And these raw data is normalized in order to make them comparable. And where X is equal to raw data, minimum value, target value. X prime is the normalized value after scaling. And after this, the index can be calculated, and this index is, as I said, it lies between 0 to 100. The other part is there is another uh, hmm, indicator where, so not other indicators, the same indicator where for they have given the equal weightage. Here also they have given equal weightage after the normalized values, but here they have used the arithmetic mean. So where there they have used at the global level, they have not used the arithmetic mean. So but here the all indicator values, so they have used the arithmetic mean at the national level. So where again here also we have assigned equal, the Mosby assigns equal weight for all the indicators, where if you look into the formula where ij is equal to goal share of state, I state or union territory under J goal, and Nij is number of non-null indicators. Non-null indicators of a state in the sense where the data is not available for any indicator. So in that case, it is marked as null. So where it is on data is available, it is indicated as non-null indicators. Most of them are non-null indicators at ith state and jth SDG indicator. And I is the normalized values. The normalized value of ith state, K indicator and J goal. Because J goal, they will be having different indicators. For that reason, they have used K indicators. And based on this values, the performance is assessed. The performance is assessed. In order to assess the performance, they have made the categories. So as I said, the value lies between 0 to 100. Achiever, where if a particular state for a particular goal, for a particular indicator, if it receives equals, the score values equals, then we can treat that goal or as an achiever. If it lies between 65 to 99, then it is a front runner. If the index value lies between 50 to 64, then it is a performer. If the index value is less than 500, then it is an aspirant. So this is the categorization done by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation and the Niti Aayog, where the index value is between 0 to 100, achiever, front runner, performer, and aspirant. So the value comes from these methods or the methodologies. And in addition to this, it also calculates the composite index, because this is an goal specific goal specific index, and this one is a composite index for all 17 goals. So the composite score is the arithmetic mean of all 16 goals. So 17th goal is related to the partnership between state and so for that reason they have excluded that for 16 goals. So assigning equal weight for each goals. So this score is an indication of where the state is performing in its journey towards achieving sustainable development goals. This is a relative comparison of how the states are performing and the union territories are performing. Again, here 4 categories have been classified, and this is like the high I is the composite SDG index score of ith state or ith union territory. NI is number of goal scores for each states which have null data, and IJ is the goal score of state of union territories of a particular SDG goal 6. J, and I indicator IJK as the normalized value for states high, for K indicator and the J goal. As I said, each SDG goal have numerous indicators. So when they have numerous indicators, it has to be normalized. So for that reason, the normalized value is normalized value of IJK. So this using this composite scores of all 16 goals, taking arithmetic mean. So they will be having 4 different categories, and that 4 different categories, again, it comes under this achiever, front runner, performer, and aspirant, because this also, this index value also lies between 0 to 100. And based on this, the performance of state and the state specific goals are measured. The progress is measured in the country. So based on that, what we have find in many of the Niti Aayog reports and many of the most data, what we find like data like this, what is 76, what 77, 753 comes from. So this, by using these methods and the methodologies. So giving a bird's eye view of the methodology of the construction of the data of the index, which is used by both the global level or the national level. First, we'll be having a raw data. Then the second one is we have to set a target. And the third one, the once that target is set for the raw data, with that target, it has to be normalized. Outliers has to be removed with some standard Z scores, whether it may be because the global index uses 2 standard deviation for current status index, and the achievement likelihood achievement of likelihood indicator, it uses 3 standard deviation. So likewise, outliers has to be removed in the normalization. But here, in the India perspective, they have not taken into consideration of outliers. And goal 4 is like the calculation of averages. And after the fifth step is the composite index score, composite SDG score. And this method is applied for all 17 goals, all 17 goals, especially by the in India. This method is applied for all 17 goals. Um, Using that SDG, using this method, SDG performance in 2018 is 44. That means it is an aspirant. In 2019, it jumped to front runner with 65 value, index value. And in 2020-21, its value decreased to 55. If you see, if you compare the index value in 65 and in the 1920 and 2021, so the if you look there during that period, they have used only 54 100 indicators. In 2021, they have more they have added included another additional 15 indicators. So maybe the performance declined during 2021, maybe due to the additional of some more indicators. Because if you see in the 2023 for 23-24 also, the SDG index become robust with addition of some more indicators, So even now, the SDG goal 9, it is in the performer, because and 2019-20 it is only it is an achiever with 65 points. This gives state-wise range, and this is related to like best performing states is top performing states are Uttarakhand and Kerala. This is the general, not in this is not related to industry. Industry specific is this one, where uh, SDG index score 9 ranges between, we have like Goa and Puducherry at Delhi. They are the top performing states in terms of industry specific goal 9 industry specific index. Uh, Index. 6 states and 2 union territories, they are on the front runners with the scores of 65 and 100. And 8 states and 2 union territories are in the aspirants range, that is below less than 50. And Goa and Puducherry and if you look into the same uh, uh, industry goal 9 specific India performance in 2018 and 2020 and 23-24. So the country score is 44, country score is 55, and the country score is 61. And if you see now, the majority of the states are in the performer category, moving from like aspirants to the performance category. And this table gives um, this table gives the indicator specific each indicator specific state level performance. Whether you take 9.2, so 9.1 is related to infrastructure, 9.1 is related to infrastructure, 9.2 is related to manufacturing sector. So if you see percentage share of gross value added in the manufacturing, there is no data for Maharashtra, and there is no data for Manipur, and there is no data for Mizoram, and there is no data for Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Ladakh and Lakshadweep. So these are all null. Keeping null aside, so the best performing state in terms of value added is Gujarat and Goa. 35.49 and 35 percentage of the total manufacturing gross value added is done by the total value addition. In total value addition, the manufacturing share is 35%. And if you look Karnataka, the share is only 13%. Because of more services contribution, 13%. And after Gujarat, so we'll be having like Puducherry Union Territory. And the second industry specific indicator is like 9.2. 9.2 manufacturing employment as a percentage of total employment. Again, if you see the major is like Gujarat with 23.7% total employment comes from the manufacturing sector. And but Karnataka, it's a 10% share of gross value of services. So if you see services is 65% in Karnataka, whereas the manufacturing is only of 13%. So Karnataka is second best with the Chandigarh of 90% of the percent component is from the services sector, and Karnataka stands second in terms of services. And here services employment, but we are not considered a services employment here. Innovation, that is a part of which we have not considered in the industry construction index. Innovation as a innovation score as per the innovation India Innovation Index. And these are the like performance of states, and based on the methodology followed by the state as well as at the global level. And we can see at the policy level, we can see many policies initiated from 2012, national manufacturing policy, then the Make in India, Made in India, so, and the digital aspect, the MSME, digital MSMEs, and the many other policies which are focusing on manufacturing automation, emphasizing on technology. And another one, we have the like a production linked PIL scheme, and the recently announced the employment linked scheme. So these are all the many programs which have been initiated for the promotion of the manufacturing sector, especially in terms of the value addition as well as the employment creation in the manufacturing sector. So these are the parts these are the things which I wanted to discuss and wanted to share. And I thank my teacher